Hi everyone, and welcome to today's episode of ZK Studies, where we are going to be taking a look at coronary heart disease and some of the associated risk factors. So let's get started. Now, coronary heart disease refers to the formation of substances, as shown over here, which are known as fatty plaques or fatty deposits. Otherwise known as atheroma, and what can build up are substances such as cholesterol, triglycerides, cell waste, etc., etc. And the reason why the formation of these atheroma are so detrimental to our body is that they can block the flow of blood through coronary arteries. So these are arteries which supply cardiac muscle, or the muscle of the heart, with the nutrients that they need. For example, oxygen and glucose. And these are needed in order to keep the heart beating. So blocks flow of blood to the heart, and this means that the heart has less nutrients to keep it beating. So the consequences of coronary heart disease can include angina, which is chest pain, If these atheroma break off and they reach the brain, they can result in a stroke. And they can also result in cardiac arrest or a heart attack. Which is scientifically known as a myocardial infarction, or MI. So let's take a look at some of the risk factors which increase the risk of people developing coronary heart disease. First of all, age plays an important role, and this is because as we get older, our cardiac muscle typically becomes more weaker, so people are more prone to CHD. And CHD is the shorthand for coronary heart disease. Next, activity levels also play a role. So someone who is more physically active would lead a more active lifestyle, and they typically have stronger cardiac muscle. So someone who is physically active typically has stronger cardiac muscle. Compared to people who live a sedentary lifestyle or are always sitting down or in an office space. Smoking also contributes to coronary heart disease, and this is because smoking makes blood vessels thicker and less flexible. So that's the first point. Blood vessels, for example the arteries, are made thicker, less flexible, and also you might remember from the smoking video that smoking contains nicotine, which releases adrenaline in the body, and as a result of adrenaline, blood pressure increases. So increased blood pressure is another consequence of smoking. So let's take a look at why increased blood pressure is a risk factor to coronary heart disease. So people who have higher blood pressure, and maybe this is a result of smoking or maybe it's not a result of smoking, but either way, what this higher blood pressure does is that it increases the risk of tears and lesions forming in the lining of blood vessels. So over here, if you imagine that blood is flowing at higher pressure than it normally does, it's more prone to damaging this wall over here. And as a result, these different tears form as a result of shear stress. So our atheroma can get deposited and form in these areas. Higher blood pressure, damage to blood vessel lining due to shear stress. And these are where fatty deposits can accumulate. So the last factor we're going to take a look at is being overweight. And typically a person who is overweight has a greater concentration of substances like trans fat or saturated fats in their diet, and what this can do is lead to the formation of atheroma. Also, being overweight puts more stress onto the heart. So the heart is under more stress. And there's typically more trans fat or saturated fat in their diet. Okay, so there you have it. This is an overview of what coronary heart disease is and the different risk factors involved.